financial report, and you see the citation here, it's a state law, and the audited financial statements. The village has not, and let me repeat that, the village has not complied with these statutory requirements since fiscal year 2021. There's no annual financial report available after 2021, and no audited financial statements after 2021. So what that means is the information that we're providing you has not been thoroughly audited by.
Strader. The mayor rarely talks to reporters, and she let the defense attorney she's retained do most of the talking with WGN News. He says Freeman put Henyard's safety at risk by removing her security detail.
Under law, he's out when she says he's out.
How is he putting you at risk?
He just asked for that.
Is it that there's speculation that prosecutors are putting pressure on him to cooperate with their investigation into you?
No, we're talking about the removal of security detail.
This isn't the first time Henyard's safety has taken center stage.
Why we can't help each other, why we can't put our hands together and help one another, why we can't band together at this time, at this moment. This is going to be Black History Month, right? Y'all all say Martin Luther King had a dream, but guess what? I am the dream. So now I need you guys to stand with me.
As the supervisor, there will be no comments, there won't be anything, it'll just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on in Thornton Township.
When can we address you?
Henyard called Wednesday's special meeting, she said, in response to a series of ordinances the village's board passed last week to manage event spending. In video of the August 20th meeting provided to ABC7 by the Lansing Journal.
Attack. We getting scrutinized in the media. For what? Loving on the people? Showing them that they matter to us? We going through the fires for y'all. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
Motion to terminate Keith Freeman.
Henyard announced his termination last night.
And we're just going into her quote here because, again, maybe some of her trustees are finally starting to fall off bit by bit. It's just taking a little bit longer than expected, which is crazy. Today, I'm breaking my silence and speaking out against Thornton Township Supervisor and Mayor of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard, who I believe has engaged in unethical and predatory behavior throughout her tenure. Man, I got to use this. Wow. Okay, and this is Carmen Carlisle, okay, who wrote this emailed statement.
The mayor hardly ever talks to reporters. She lets her defense attorney do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to WGN News. That attorney claims Freeman put Henyard's safety in danger by pulling her security detail. Legally, he's out when she says he's out. So how exactly is he putting you at risk? He just asked for it. Now, is there talk that prosecutors are pressuring him to cooperate with their investigation into you? Nope. We're just talking about the security detail being removed. This isn't the first time Mayor Henyard's safety has been front and center. While all around us, we can't even get along. Why can't we just come together and help each other? Why not now? Right now? Martin Luther King had a dream, right? Well, guess what? I am the dream. So now I need you all, the supervisors, to step up. Heads up. No comments, no side talks. It'll just be me telling you straight up what's happening here. Henyard called a special meeting this Wednesday, responding to a series of ordinances the village board passed last week aimed at controlling event spending. There's a video of the August 20th meeting. ABC7 got it from the Lansing Journal. She said, "We're under the microscope in the media for what? For loving on the people, for showing them they matter to us. We're walking through the fire. For y'all. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Y'all are black, and yet here you are, tearing down a black woman who's empowered. Shame on y'all." A motion to terminate Keith Freeman. Henyard announced his firing last night. Let's look at her words again because it seems some of her trustees are starting to jump ship, one by one. It's just taking longer than expected, which is wild. Today, I'm breaking my silence to speak out against Thornton Township Supervisor and Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who I believe has shown unethical, even predatory behavior throughout her time in office. Man, I gotta say it. Wow. Just wow. This is Carmen Carla speaking, who sent this emailed statement. Have you ever seen a small-town scandal explode into full-on political drama? Well, buckle up, because what's happening in Dalton, Illinois might just be the wildest ride in local government history. Right in the center of it all, Mayor Tiffany Henyard. She's quickly becoming infamous for controversial policies, questionable choices, and headlines that make even veteran politicians do a double take. It started when news broke about a bold ordinance directly tied to her re-election, slashing the mayor's salary from $225,000 to just $25,000 if she loses. But if she wins? That six-figure paycheck stays right where it is. That's when folks started digging, and what they uncovered was jaw-dropping. This wasn't just about the election. This was a pattern, a very troubling one. Mayor Henyard is linked to a privately owned cancer awareness charity that's advertised illegally along state highways. While investigating that, the village's own chief of police reportedly found much, much more. One viral tweet alleges Henyard hired a registered child offender, massively overpaid police officers who serve as her personal security detail, and dropped hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on salaries that make no sense. One officer was reportedly paid $133,000 in just 2 weeks, racking up 300 hours of overtime. That's not just hard to believe, it's practically impossible. And it doesn't stop there. Financial transparency? Non-existent. According to the annual financial report, yes, the one required by state law, the village hasn't met its reporting requirements since 2021. That means no audited financial statements are available after that year. In other words, the village's finances haven't been properly checked or verified for years now. No oversight, no accountability, just a total blackout of information. And that's exactly where the real danger lies. When pressed about this, the mayor barely says a word. She rarely speaks directly to the media. Instead, she lets her defense attorney handle all the talking. He claims that removing her security detail put her safety at risk. But the public? They're not buying it. After all, this is the mayor of a town with only about 20,000 people. So with everything else going on, people are wondering, was this really about safety? Or was it about control? Rumors are swirling that prosecutors might be ramping up the pressure on former allies, hoping someone will flip and cooperate with their investigation into her administration. But no matter the questions piling up, Henyard keeps painting herself as the misunderstood victim. At a recent public event, she lamented the lack of unity in the community, invoked Martin Luther King Jr., and boldly declared herself the dream. It was supposed to inspire hope, but for many, it just raised more eyebrows. In a shocking twist, Dalton's self-styled super mayor, Tiffany Henyard, just took a serious hit from an unexpected place, one of her own allies. Thornton Township Board trustee Carmen Carolele, once seen as a Henyard supporter, has now publicly accused the 41-year-old mayor of unethical behavior aimed at boosting her own power. This betrayal comes at a time when Henyard is already under fire for fraud allegations and growing criticism over her extravagant spending. Looks like being super mayor isn't enough to save her this time. Trustee Carmen Carril broke her silence today, saying, "I can no longer stay quiet about Thornton Township Supervisor and Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. I believe she has engaged in unethical and predatory practices throughout her term." Carril alleges that for the last 2 years, Henyard has been manipulating employees, vendors, and residents to increase her influence, all while projecting a fake image of success funded by hard-working taxpayers in both Thornton Township and Dalton. Carril also admitted she's from a small village outside Chicago, and thanks to this mayor, Tiffany Henyard, the corruption is reaching new levels. With George Santos leaving the House, this woman might just be the funniest and most corrupt politician in America right now. I first heard about Tiffany today reading about an ordinance she pushed that slashes the mayor's salary from $225,000 to $25,000 if she loses her re-election. But if she wins, that six-figure paycheck stays put. When I saw that, I knew I had to learn everything about this woman. And believe me, that 90% pay cut, it's barely the tip of the iceberg of corruption this woman has been swimming in during her short time as Dalton's mayor. If you're driving on a highway near Dalton, Illinois, you might spot signs for her privately owned cancer awareness charity, something that's not allowed by law. During an investigation into that charity, the village's police chief reportedly uncovered even more dirt. According to a tweet going viral, shout out to the person who posted it, Mayor Henyard is one of the most corrupt officials ever. She allegedly hired a registered child offender. She overpays police officers who act as her personal security. Detail, which begs the question, why does she need so much security as mayor of a town with only 20,000 residents? One officer supposedly raked in $133,000 in just 2 weeks with 300 hours of overtime. Nobody believes that, and honestly, who could? For a while, folks stayed silent about Henyard's lavish trips and outrageous spending during board meetings because they trusted the administration. But that trust? It's gone now. I'm speaking out not just for myself, but for everyone who's been hurt by Henyard's leadership, because there are more victims out there, people who've been retaliated against, fired, or deceived by Henyard, but haven't yet had the courage to come forward. Carmen Carril's decision to speak out? It wasn't easy. And honestly, it's no surprise she hesitated. Henyard seemed to have the law and a lot of power on her side. She was swiping credit cards like they were going out of style and allegedly employing a personal security team that intimidated anyone who might speak up. So yeah, who wouldn't be scared to come forward? But Henyard wasn't going to let Carril's betrayal slide. True to form, the mayor shot back, coining a new nickname for her former ally, Lion Carrilli, and tossing blame onto everyone else. I'm tired of everyone in here. It's always a show. At the end of the day, you were part of this board, right? So why didn't you bring this up before? Where was this energy last year? Or even months ago? Her words seemed to admit there was something seriously wrong behind the scenes. You could feel the frustration leaking through her usually stone-cold silence. And her usual tight-lipped approach, only speaking through lawyers, seemed to be cracking under pressure. She tried shifting the blame to Carrile, accusing her of neglecting her trustee duties. But Carrile was ready with a reply. The reason? I didn't ask questions before. I trusted the administration and the process. But once that trust broke, I started digging deeper. As your assistant, I saw and heard a lot. The first time I really doubted you was when you went on national TV claiming you knew nothing about that foundation. You forget, I was in those rooms when key decisions were made. You weren't truthful about that foundation. You even showed up at my house unannounced afterward, trying to convince me to say someone else started it. Carril's revelations shined a harsh light on Henyard's shady financial dealings, but she wasn't alone in losing patience. Trustee Chris Gonzalez had been challenging Henyard for months, demanding to see financial records since day one of her chaotic leadership. After polite requests were ignored over and over, Gonzalez called a special meeting on August 15th, a direct confrontation with Henyard about the unchecked spending and mismanagement. This wasn't a typical meeting, it was more like an intervention. The agenda was loaded with Henyard's worst nightmares, approving suspicious payments, demanding overdue invoices be paid, and, most telling, 6 new ordinances aimed at reining in the mayor's power. We're talking travel restrictions, salary cuts, tighter budget controls, limits on credit card usage, and a total ban on using township resources for personal PR stunts. It was clear, Gonzalez and Carrile weren't just trying to slow Henyard down. They were preparing to shut her reign down completely. Ironically, I've seen this before, with school districts, city councils. When drama spirals out of control, the state often has to step in. Has anyone reached out to state lawmakers? Has the state been called in to mediate this mess? And here's a twist. Henyard's rise to power. It came at the very last minute, an 11th-hour nomination by none other than Chris Gonzalez himself. She was voted in and sworn in just minutes before the midnight deadline. Many thought it was a random choice, but it later came out that Henyard had actually applied for the position way in advance. Tiffany Henyard was the last resort. A source close to the situation revealed how Henyard actually became mayor. It was a last-minute move, an 11th-hour nomination that sealed her rise to power. For many watching, it felt like a missed warning sign that maybe Henyard wasn't the right leader for the job. The clock was ticking. Gonzalez didn't want the decision to fall to the township voters. With the board deeply divided and the deadline looming, he nominated Henyard in a final attempt to force some kind of unity. When asked about her sudden promotion, Henyard responded with her usual enthusiasm. "Oh, ma'am. Overjoyed. I didn't see it coming. I love it. That means I'm truly blessed and everyone loves me. I love them. Thank you." But not everyone bought it. Some speculated the board had their own agenda, pushing the nomination through quickly to keep the public out of the decision. The rushed appointment sparked outrage among Dalton residents, fed up with the chaos. One resident said, "It's heartbreaking. Our senior citizens can't even afford basic necessities because of Tiffany's corruption." Another added, "I knew something was off from the start. Tiffany needs to be held accountable. She shouldn't be allowed to spend our tax dollars like it's her own personal cash register." Sure, Gonzalez and Carrile may have their own reasons, but one thing's clear. Henyard's days in power are numbered. Desperate to hold on, Henyard tried to fast-track a key agenda item, the backup invoices from the finance department, which would have exposed much of her hidden spending. But Gonzalez wasn't having it. Since July, when former aide Keith Freeman blew the whistle on Henyard's shady dealings and was suddenly fired, she replaced him with her loyal ally Keith Price, without board approval, another move to tighten her grip on power. Gonzalez pushed back hard, pointing out Price had no authority to handle sensitive financial documents without the board's consent. Henyard argued Price didn't need approval, then contradicted herself by saying he'd already been approved. Finally, Henyard called for a vote on the invoices, hoping to push her agenda through, but the tide had turned. Trustees Jerry Jones, Chris Gonzalez, and Carmen Carrile all voted to investigate the invoices, leaving Henyard as the only no vote. The motion passed, marking a major turning point in the unraveling of Tiffany Henyard's hold on power. As the investigation continues and more shocking details come out, the community is watching closely. If this breakdown gave you the full picture, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest updates on this story. Your support helps us keep bringing you the truth behind the headlines.